This man, worshipped by millions, is not an Egyptian pharaoh. He is the most powerful mutant on Earth. Wherever he goes, everyone must kneel and pay homage. He has lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Whenever his life is about to end, he transfers his consciousness into another body. Once the transfer succeeds, not only does he gain a brand new body, but he also inherits its superpowers. This time, he has found a body with extraordinary healing abilities. If the transfer is completed, humanity will be ruled forever. At the Grand Guardian's command, the slaves outside tore off the black cloth covering the pyramid's peak. As sunlight poured in, the mysterious glyphs were activated. Apocalypse's consciousness began to transfer, spreading toward the nearby mutants. But just then, humans who had suffered enough oppression began to revolt. With a swing of their hammers, they shattered the wooden supports. Massive stones came crashing down. At the same time, the soldiers inside took action. But Apocalypse's 4 guardians were not to be trifled with. Another controlled the surrounding flames, easily wiping out another wave. Yet the sheer force of the falling stones destroyed the pyramid's support pillars, reducing it to rubble. Inside, the structure was collapsing violently. A massive boulder came crashing toward Apocalypse, but a guardian caught it just in time. The transfer had reached its final stage. A soldier attempted a sneak attack, but a guardian grabbed him. At that moment, the largest support pillar finally collapsed. One guardian was crushed to death instantly. Another hurriedly transferred Apocalypse's gear onto his new body. But then, another boulder fell, smashing the female guardian. With the last ounce of her strength, she created a golden barrier around Apocalypse, then closed her eyes and accepted her fate beneath the falling stone. And so, Apocalypse was buried underground in eternal slumber. Thousands of years later, a group of his devoted followers discovered this place. As they prayed, the ancient glyphs began to glow, their golden light stretching toward the man who had slept for 30,000 years. Just then, his eyes suddenly opened. A surge of powerful purple energy engulfed his body. With a deafening explosion, his followers were instantly buried beneath the rubble. Moments later, Apocalypse emerged onto the streets. Seeing how much the world had changed, he was utterly baffled. He even nearly stumbled into a Porsche. Just then, he saw a woman roll her eyes back. A fierce wind howled through the streets. She stole money from a street vendor, but she was spotted. She ran for her life, only to be cornered in an alley. Apocalypse quietly followed behind. Seeing a noble mutant reduced to such a state, he decided to teach humanity a lesson. He raised his hand, and the heads of those around them turned to dust. Eyes rolled back, and the last person was embedded deep into the wall. Faced with such a powerful kindred spirit, Storm immediately brought him to her home. So, Apocalypse began to learn. He placed his hand on the television, and within minutes, he had absorbed all the world's knowledge. He also discovered that humanity possessed superweapons, and that even mutants were being crushed beneath their feet. He decided to take revenge and rebuild his great empire. The first step was to find his new 4 horsemen. He lifted Storm's chin, sending a surge of power straight into her mind. Then they found the second horseman, Selok, a mutant who could transform her thoughts into weapons. With just one glance, Apocalypse amplified her psychic energy several times over. Next, they found the third horseman, Angel. Injured in a past battle, he could barely fly, but Apocalypse didn't abandon him. Instead, he placed his hand on Angel, flooding his body with immense power. Angel underwent a rapid transformation. His feathered wings turned into razor-sharp steel blades, a true pay-to-win upgrade. Now, only one remained, the one we all know, Magneto. A furnace, burning at thousands of degrees, suddenly broke loose. Then, a man stretched out his hand, and the massive furnace froze in midair. The one controlling the metal was none other than Magneto. Realizing he had exposed himself, he knew he had to run. He planned to flee with his wife and daughter. They found a group of officers who had taken their daughter. They already knew who he was. The mistakes he made years ago had left the whole world terrified of him. To protect his daughter, Magneto surrendered himself. But seeing her father captured, his daughter grew more and more distressed. In her panic, she summoned a flock of birds. Amidst the chaos, an officer accidentally released an arrow. It struck the girl and went straight through, piercing her mother as well. Magneto was utterly broken. He took out the amulet he had given his daughter and instantly wiped out all the officers on the scene. But he wasn't done yet. He headed to the factory. Just then, a portal opened behind him. Out stepped Apocalypse and his followers. Magneto thought they had come to stop him, but Apocalypse simply rolled his eyes. Everyone in sight was buried alive. Then, using the portal, Apocalypse brought Magneto to the place where his parents had been killed. As the painful memories came flooding back, Magneto completely gave in to darkness. Apocalypse seized the moment to enhance his power, allowing him to sense all the hidden metal buried beneath the earth. The entire ground began to tremble. With a furious roar, Magneto reduced the whole town to ruins. If he wanted to, he could destroy the entire planet in an instant. Meanwhile, Mystique found Professor Xavier. She told him that Magneto's wife and daughter had been killed, and that he had slaughtered a group of officers in return. Humanity would never let him go now. So she asked Xavier to use Cerebro to locate Magneto. With Cerebro activated, Xavier could sense every human on the planet. It didn't take long to find Magneto in the crowd. The moment they connected, he felt Magneto's despair and confusion. But Magneto wasn't listening to anything. All he wanted now was to exterminate humanity, to avenge his wife and daughter. Just then, Apocalypse sensed Xavier's psychic power. He was ecstatic. This was the ability he had been searching for all along. His eyes rolled back. He infiltrated Xavier's mind. Xavier was terrified.
I've never felt power like this before.
His psychic power was forcibly enhanced, and Apocalypse took full control of it. Using Xavier's power, Apocalypse launched every nuclear weapon on the planet, wiping out humanity's only real threat against him. The sight was absolutely breathtaking. Even a random old man watching was left slack-jawed. Meanwhile, Xavier struggled with all his might to break free. He ordered Havoc to destroy Cerebro. The moment he broke Apocalypse's control, Apocalypse and his followers teleported in and forcefully abducted Xavier. Havoc rushed in to stop them. He accidentally triggered an explosion in a nearby aircraft, causing a massive blast. Just then, the man appeared. He sped into the exploding school, weaving through nearly frozen debris. First, he rescued Beast. Then, he grabbed Mystique. Inside the main hall, he stood unfazed as the floor beneath him cracked and crumbled. On his way past the restroom, he even took a moment to give someone a quick makeover. Now, tell me, was that fast? Apocalypse used Xavier's telepathy to broadcast a message to the entire world. He declared that he had returned to reclaim everything he had lost. Humans were not meant to rule the Earth. Mutants were. Meanwhile, Xavier sent a coded message to John. She immediately sensed that Xavier was in Cairo. She and the other mutants formed a team and set out for the rescue mission. At the same time, Apocalypse was preparing to carry out his final plan. As the most powerful mutant, he raised both hands. His eyes turned white, and the entire city before him crumbled into dust, then reassembled into a massive, towering pyramid. He then brought Xavier inside. Using a consciousness transfer, he planned to take over Xavier's powers. Meanwhile, Jean and the others arrived in their jet. They split into two teams. Nightcrawler teleported inside the pyramid just as Xavier was on the brink of disaster. He whisked Xavier away to the jet, sending him into a furious roar. Xavier was unharmed, except for his hair. Meanwhile, Magneto unleashed his full power. Hovering in midair, he took control of every metal object around him. The force spread across the entire globe. The Golden Gate Bridge collapsed. The Sydney Opera House crumbled. Massive waves surged through the oceans. Even the metal buried deep beneath the sea was under his command. Humanity's carefully built civilization was reduced to ruins. Mystique tried to talk Magneto down, but the powerful magnetic field around him made it impossible to get close. Then, Apocalypse emerged. Quicksilver rushed in to restrain him, but speed alone wasn't enough. With a glance, Apocalypse locked him in place, then proceeded to beat him down. Mystique attempted a sneak attack, only to be instantly exposed. With the situation spiraling out of control, Xavier came up with an idea. Even though Apocalypse had failed to transfer bodies, their minds were now connected. Xavier decided to enter Apocalypse's mind and destroy him from within. But Apocalypse was far too powerful. At the same time, Apocalypse located Xavier's physical body. Just as he was about to strike, two massive steel beams blocked his path. Magneto had turned against him, launching a full-scale metal assault. Cyclops joined the fight as well, but their combined power still wasn't enough to take Apocalypse down. Then, from the darkness, a figure emerged. The hidden powerhouse of the entire movie, Jean. Xavier said just one sentence to her. Jean had waited too long for this moment and shattered Apocalypse from the inside. Magneto and Cyclops jumped in to finish the job. Apocalypse tried to teleport away, but Storm betrayed him, summoning a lightning bolt that cut off his escape. With her full power unleashed, Jean became a fiery phoenix and burned Apocalypse into nothingness. Afterward, Magneto rebuilt the mutant school. The remaining group formed a new X-Men team, continuing their story. As the final chapter of the prequel trilogy, this film finally brought the main team together, and finally made Xavier bald. The visuals were spectacular, the effects were detailed, but the story was a bit simple, and the final battle felt a little too easy. Still worth a watch. Alright, I'm $7, a movie-loving content creator. Please like and subscribe. See you next video.